Now we've picked this up. We have an assembly made. We are going to get used to making a null assembly right away. I'm going to close this out here. I'm going to go ahead and make another assembly. This time we're just going to create an assembly. We're going to call this the null assembly. In other words, it's going to be relatively blank, and this is going to be where 0, 20. We now have two assemblies in here. Remember, we have views so we can jump around. One thing I didn't do correctly, and sometimes we forget, is to go ahead and make a -v window for final profile. Specify first corner here, second corner there. What's great about the -v is you don't have to worry about clicking on any settings. In this profile, if you're going to go ahead and plot it right away, you know, when you're evaluating, you realize this stuff down here is not correct. So you grab the profile, right away you go to profile view properties. You should have done that before anyway, because you really don't want all of those. Right there is where you go ahead and change your, and what you would start to do is make a new style here. This style should be saved, but when you're delivered a style, you're going to deal with the style you have. The bands here, you switch that to 0.04 inches, tab around, and you would like it to label two different surfaces. You've got that laid out. This is now laid out pretty much. You would put this thing that was on a layer 0. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. That would be on a, don't want to do that. You want to click on something, keep that stuff on layers that you're not going to be plotting, that you can freeze out. I'm going to go now view, back to my overall, set current, okay, go through the final bits that we did in class, and that in fact was to make a corridor from a list. Okay, space bar to pick your corridor, space bar to pick your profile, space bar to pick your assembly, hit OK, set your targets, and there'll be a number of them as you get going in any kind of capstone. I'm going to hit OK here. Realize you've got something done. Fix your corridor surface right away, and this is how you go about doing that. Fix your corridor surface in going about corridor properties, going to surfaces, making them all, and then just saving the top by renaming it. This one, of course, DOT is quite big into that, just so you realize. Datum, you can't right click. You now can then start erasing out all the extra ones. It made one for every sub layer in your drawing. You don't always get rid of all these. Very often if you're doing computations, right, you're going to want to keep them around. They're too much to manage for most students. I'm just clicking and erasing. This is how one goes about doing your computations. You've got this done. You realize that was the top. This was the datum. You go to the boundaries, and this does not always work, but you go ahead and add automatically daylight. You sometimes have to make your own. Hit apply. Okay. You now have more or less done that. In this case, remember we gapped a region. We're going to gap from 1050 to 1050 to 10700. So we went here and we went to corridor properties again. We go all the way back to parameters, and we can click on this region and split a region. Remember, we know how to do it. We can say 10500, 10500, and then 10700. We get that error where it's still okay. We know that we want to change that middle region to be a null assembly. We apply, we hit OK, we hit OK. We now have this thing cut out for the intersection with Peter. It would make an intersection tool work much better, at least for your eye. Finally, remember, we can do sample groups to do computations. We go ahead and create sample groups, sample line groups. It's not liking that. We're going to save this here in a second. So there you have it, in about 30 minutes, the project that's more or less completely done. If you know how to use data, the plotting shouldn't take more than 10 minutes. If you go ahead and use views, write down the stations of each of your starting sheets, and then writing down the elevations within the sheet so you can shift the boxes you need to. You can also use the automatic sheet cutter. I will do that at another time. Try this one more time. Complete sample loop groups. I'm going to hit a space bar here. We're going to do final row at center line. We're going to tell it we want to sample each of these things, even though we really don't want that one. And we're going to change the style here not to be no display. Final top will be final top. Final datum. This might work the first time. It usually does not. Sometimes you have to do it twice, and then existing topo will be existing ground. Hit OK. Hit OK. And we're going to tell it where you wanted to do it by range of stations. We'll do every 50 and every 25. Tab. Hit OK. It sampled all the surfaces, and hopefully now, once again, I don't like to put these off, but if you're going to put them off here, put them off on the side. You're going to create section views, multiple section views. You're going to tell it which road, where you're going, all the like. I'm going to create section views out here. Depending on the settings, your section views should come in with data on them, as this one does. Right, so you've gotten section views, sheets laid out. You've kind of done a complete project, if you would, in 30 minutes. Maybe triple that if you're going to have to go all the way through. Regen. Realistically here, just to fill up the last bit of time, you can do some sheets. If you make your views, you go ahead and you bring in with an insert, hopefully, from the DOT or from whatever thing you're doing. You bring in and know your sheet. You browse out to where it might be. In this case, the DOT delivered a lot of things. You should have gone out, and you should definitely go out next semester. You'll be there on a regular basis. Basically, you've got lots of things out there. DOT, that's one of them. I think it's in typical, maybe in blocks, very typically in plan sheets, and State Highway 30 was the one we had. We bring it in at 000. You can bring in exploded if you want or not, and it comes right in there. You're kind of, remember that if someone gives you, I'm going to do an undo here, if someone gives you a sheet border, do not just take it. So I'm going to show you again. Insert is how we bring something in from outside. Know where it's at. State Highway 30. Not exploded. You've got a sheet border there. You can, in the end, then make some views that correspond with your boxes here. I'll go ahead and make my first view. It's beginning there. I'm going to do a rectangle here at 600, 170. You can move that rectangle. Will I be able to get the whole thing in? No, I won't. So very often on something like this, what you might do is get a sheet laid out and have a small little subview that look like this, rectangle from near here, and then you have a separate subview. That's it. I won't plot these until later. That is the end of the practical exam.